So, I told you guys a couple of days ago that after Christmas, there was going to be some crazy transfer rumors that is going to happen. And it did. I mean, these last couple of days, there has just been tons of transfer rumors and even a couple of signings that happened around MLS, but none crazier than the Lorenzo Insigne transfer saga that is going on between him and potentially going to TFC. And this, according to one source, saying that he is going to be joining Toronto FC in the summer, and that they have actually agreed term, and that there's also other sources say that deal is not going to happen. There is even some source tell exactly how much it's going to be. It's going to be around $12 million a year that Insigne is going to get, which will make him the highest paid player ever in league history. And then there's also those talks about how the fans back in Italy are not happy about it, especially Napoli fans are questioning this move. And even Sebastian Giovinco kind of weighed in on the fact that, yeah, maybe you shouldn't come to MLS the way that, they don't pay you as much it is. Though I will say that, that article that talked about Giovinco kind of gave Insigne a warning of coming to MLS. That maybe was a little bit misleading, and if you read more about it, there was kind of maybe that translation that kind of gave a different meaning of what Giovinco was actually saying. But yeah, there's been just some crazy things that has been talked about, whether or not if Lorenzo Insigne is going to TFC or not. But one thing we know is the fact that it seems like it could happen, and that, yeah, if he does come to MLS, I think that will be a great upgrade for this TFC team. And in some way, they kind of are looking at Insigne as the next Giovinco, like a guy that is going to come to TFC from Syria and from a big club like Napoli, and is going to light it up. Now, I'm not sure if exactly is he going to be just as effective as Giovinco is when he came into MLS and came to TFC and just become an MVP almost every single year. But one thing we know is that most likely he could be, because he is a guy that is one of the most dynamic winger in the league. And even though he is approaching 30 right now, he still has that speed to defender. And yeah, we'll see how once all this kind of rumors kind of eventually comes to pieces, and that indeed if he is going to be going to TFC, which again, the reason why he's coming in the summer instead of right in the beginning of the season is that his contract is actually ending with Napoli right at the end of the season. Unless if Napoli decided to not renew his contract, then TFC could actually sign Insigne on a free, and that would be one of the biggest bargains we have ever seen in league history. I mean, imagine getting a good player for absolutely nothing. I mean, you still have to pay him a lot of money, and as I mentioned, $12 million per year. That is going to be the highest payroll we have ever seen in league history, but it's definitely worth it. And this is also just TFC showing that, yeah, they are going to spend some money, and they are really serious of being a contender in the Eastern Conference. And another thing that they also did during this week is look for that next striker, because they know that Josie Altidore is pretty much leaving this team, so they need to find a number 9 to replace him. Oh, by the way, going back to the Lorenzo Insigne thing, he's most likely is going to be replacing Jefferson Satado in that spot, because I've heard that it seems like Satado is not going to be staying with this TFC team. I mean, it would be nice to see both Satado and Insigne in the same spot, but knowing the fact that they kind of play in the same position, unless if you decide to kind of switch them in different sides, or you go with a different formation, there is no way that it's going to work where, there's no way you're just going to bench Satado for Insigne, or the other way around when you spend so much money for them, if they are going to get both of those players. But obviously they're looking to try and sign a number 9 too, and especially a DP number 9. And one name that came up is Andrea Bellotti. They're looking to trying to sign him for Torino. They've also mentioned that they're trying to sign this Italian striker called Domenico Cristocco from Genoa. And then there's even links that they are looking to sign Jesus Jimenez from a Polish club for Grotnik Zebrits. I probably just completely butchered that name, but you know by now how I'm not good with pronunciation, and especially pronunciation of these Eastern European name. But so yeah, I mean, you can definitely see that TFC is being very ambitious in terms of this off season, and we'll see by the end of this off season who exactly they have. I mean, I like the fact that they're being ambitious, and once again, they're showing the rest of MLS that they are the biggest spending club in the league and that they're not afraid to spend some big money for it. But it's also going to be interesting to see, once they get the signings that they need, whether or not if it's going to be effective. Because it's one way to kind of flex your financial muscle and signing these great players, but if they don't fit in terms of the system that they have. I mean, I will say that, with Bob Bradley being there, I think he's going to work with these good players and get them to be decent to get this team back to an Eastern Conference contender. But let's say if it doesn't work out, then yeah, that could be a huge issue, and you could kind of see the problem they had last season, where they did try to once again spend some money, and then it just kind of didn't work out for them. And also, it doesn't help the fact that they lost Greg Vanny, and they replaced him with a guy that turns out to be a total fraud, and a guy that was trying to bring the Red Bull system to Toronto, and clearly the Red Bull system just does not work in what Toronto is trying to do. Now, moving on, in terms of the next news, is Palmeiras. Remember that club that have already got out to Atuesta and seems like are just invading MLS in terms of getting all the big name player? Well, it seemed like they are now reported to sign Tati Castellanos for $12.5 million. Now, obviously, if you're Tati Castellanos, I'm not sure, are you going to be happy the fact that, after a breakout season and a career season with NYCFC, winning the MLS Cup and winning the Golden Boot race, that you want to make the jump down to South America? And Palmeiras is definitely not a team that should be taken lightly, because they are one of the giants in Brazilian soccer, and arguably they are the giants of Brazilian soccer and one of the giants in South America. But you would think that maybe Tati Castellanos is thinking more about going to Europe and making that jump to Europe. I mean, it's quite amazing how we have now seen some players that, instead of usually taking the usual route of developing to be a decent player in MLS before going off to Europe, instead of now they're actually going to South America. But that seems like it could be the case with Tati Castellanos, and we'll see whether or not if NYCFC is going to accept that offer. I mean, I think $12.5 million, it's an okay price, but I feel like they could ask for more, especially of an incredible season that Tati Castellanos has. And again, you win the Golden Boot in this league, and you're there as one of the upcoming players, you're definitely going to be worth a lot of money, and somewhere maybe around $15 and $20 million and sorts. Now, speaking of striker, FC Dallas striker Ricardo Pepi has now linked with Wolfsburg, and I've also just heard there was a rumor that Real Madrid is looking to trying to sign Ricardo Pepi. Now, if Ricardo Pepi has the option to join Real Madrid or Wolfsburg, it's tempted to join Madrid, because Real Madrid is considered one of the prime principle of the game, and that they're consider a team that has such a lucrative history, and that I'm pretty sure every soccer player, if they have a chance to join Real Madrid, they definitely will take that option. But one of the things that I will say to Ricardo Pepi, and especially for a lot of youngsters that is looking to trying to make that jump and trying to sign with the biggest club, is that sometimes that may not always be the right option. Especially if he is going to join Real Madrid, I don't think he's going to get a lot of game time. At the very best, I think he'll probably maybe join Real Madrid and loan to somewhere else, or maybe join their B team, and that is probably not what I think Ricardo Pepi has in mind. And instead, what we have also seen now is that there's a lot of these American players, when they either they're developed with the academy that they're coming from, or developed to be a decent player, they also have gone to the Bundesliga, because it seems like the Bundesliga has been very welcome in terms of American player, and a lot of Bundesliga team has seen a lot of these young American players, given them their chance to shine. And we could see this happen again with Wolfsburg trying to follow the trend, trying to get one of the upcoming American that is Ricardo Pepi. But we'll see whether or not if it's going to happen, and we'll also see how much Wolfsburg is looking to try to pay FC Dallas in order to get Ricardo Pepi, because I'm assuming it's probably going to be a hefty amount, and especially Dallas, they're going to, I don't think they're going to keep Ricardo Pepi this offseason. I mean, Pepi have already said before he's not going to be staying for this team. He's already requesting to trade to somewhere else, and most likely going to Europe. but I'm pretty sure FC Dallas is trying to maybe ask the price to be pretty high so that they can, of course, sell off one of their biggest, well, not just one of their biggest, but their biggest asset heading into this offseason. Now, Wofford is looking to try to sign Atlanta United defender George Bellow, and I think this is, the 5th or 6th club that George Bellow has been linked with, and apparently, Watford is looking to try to get him, and, if you Atlanta United, depending on how much they're going to get for George Bellow, I don't think this could be a good idea, and especially for George Bellow itself. Does he want to go join a team that, even though they are in the Premier League, they're struggling right now? I mean, they are near the bottom of the table. They're literally fighting for relegation, and to join a team that is fighting for relegation, yeah, that could be a little bit dicey, and especially trying to improve your career. And we talked about how George Bellow has had a great season, but maybe if he is looking to try to make a jump to Europe, at least join a team that is not in a relegation scrap, and maybe join a team that is kind of like a mid-table team, and maybe a team that can give chances to players to develop. And I don't know if Watford is going to be that team, but nevertheless, Atlanta is definitely going to listen to the offer, and we know this is a team that is known to sell off big asset. And I think this offseason there could be a case that we could see both Miles Robinson and George Bellow sell off in the offseason. And while that is definitely going to be very damaged to that back line for Atlanta United, because those two players are part of the rock in that defense, and we already know that they lost one of their more important defender in Anton Walks in the expansion draft. But this is Atlanta United. They're a team that has pretty much invented the way, well, I wouldn't say they invented, but kind of pioneered the way that they're selling off their player for a huge amount of money. And I won't be surprised George Bellow will be joining the latest name to potentially go to Europe by this team. Now, Orlando City is nearing a move for Argentine winger Gaston Gonzalez. Now, I don't know a lot about this kid other than the fact that he is 20 years old, and I guess this is just another classic kind of signing where you decide to go down to South America, find these young South American and bring them to MLS to develop and eventually sell them off to Europe. And we'll see whether or not if Orlando City is going to do so, and if they are going to do so, I'm assuming he's going to be the replacement for Nani. And yeah, it's good luck in terms of trying to be fill in the huge shoes that Nani basically let off this team. But we'll see whether or not if this deal is going to made, and whether or not if he's going to get some game time with this team. Now, Inter Miami is report to loan Rodolfo Pizzero back to Monterey, and I think this is pretty much for the best with the way that Pizzero, when he arrived to Inter Miami, I mean, there's times that he has shown some flashes and show some brilliance, but let's be honest, the $5.5 million that Inter Miami paid for Rodolfo Pizzero, it just, like, with the way especially how this season went, and how he was spending more time on the bench and was really kind of in the doghouse of Phil Neville, you just kind of sense that money that they pay him is starting to turn to be a huge bust. And while they aren't going to get any money back with them loaning him back to Rayados, at least from what I heard, it looks like it's an option to buy kind of loan offer. And if Inter Miami is lucky, the fact that Rayados might actually overpay Inter Miami in order to get Rodolfo Pizzero back to the team that they want him, they might actually earn some money out of this. I mean, I know there is a reason why I think Rayados want to get him back, because I think he was like a fan favorite at Monterey, and it was kind of sad that he, of course, left the team. But now he's coming back to the team, and a chance that he could actually surely be able to come back to the team, and the way that Monterey might pay Inter Miami a hefty amount in order to do so, there could be a chance that they actually might get some gain out of this, which is something that I didn't think that was going to happen with the way that Rodolfo Pizzero and his tenure in MLS and with Inter Miami has been. Now, James Sands is reported to draw interest from Ranger FC, so here's another highly talented young defender in MLS looking to draw interest overseas. And if James Sands is going to go to Rangers, we'll see whether or not if he is going to get some game time because Rangers is considered one of the best, and I think right now the best team right now in Scotland and top of the Scottish Premiership. And we'll see whether or not if he is going to get some game time. But like I said, with many of these young players, and especially these breakout player that they had this season, and James Sands definitely had a breakout season with NYCFC. I won't be surprised he might be so off to oversee, and especially now he's started to break into the national team picture. He is definitely a guy that I think is going to be moving on to Europe sooner or later to continue to improve his career, so that he could potentially be a guy that not only in the national team picture but could be a future starting center back for this U.S. men's national team in the future. And the same goes with the next guys that I talk about, although he probably might be a guy that be a future U.S. men's national team player alongside with his brother, because now I'm going to talk about Paxton Aaronson, and that now there seems like there's a rumor that RB Leipzig and Salzburg is looking to try and sign Paxton Aaronson, and if Leipzig decide to do that, then they got the Aaronson brother at the club. Or actually, no, not Leipzig, I'm sorry, but Salzburg. If Salzburg is looking to trying to sign Paxton Aaronson, then they of course now have the Aaronson brother together. And one thing I also want to say is that it's kind of ironic the fact that the two Red Bulls team overseas that is in Austria and in Germany are literally signing guys from the Philadelphia Union and guys that are coming out of that academy, instead of maybe trying to sign some of the guys from their other parent club that is the New York Red Bulls. I mean, I remember a couple of years that Tyler Adams he kind of came out of the Red Bull Academy and eventually joined the team in Europe that is part of the Red Bulls franchise in RB Leipzig. And ever since, it almost feels like RB Leipzig kind of ignored their parent team and instead just kind of choose another team in MLS to do so. But in some way, in terms of this sign or in terms of this rumor itself, I feel like for Paxton Aaronson, it's for his best to just stay with the Philadelphia Union for another year. Like he started to kind of break into Jim Curtin's side, like especially later in the season, and with the way that the team kind of struck because of COVID, he started to really get some game time, and you can start to see some potential that he can be a very decent player. And I remember there was talk about he can be even he can be either better than his brother Brendan Aronson, and he's definitely shown that. But with him, if he is going to be staying with the Union, and especially if he's going to be that regular starter for this team heading into next season, there could be a higher chance that he could maybe get interest with other clubs besides Leipzig and Salzburg, and maybe the Union might even get a bigger amount of money if they are able to keep Paxton Aaronson, develop to a good player, and eventually sold them off to one of these Red Bulls teams, just like they did with Brendan Aronson. But we'll see whether or not if that it's going to be happening this off season, or maybe the Union is just going to keep him for next year. But now moving on, in terms of the next news, we're going to talk about Austin, who have made a couple, I wouldn't say a couple, but they did make a signing this week for signing Maxi Urruti off of free agency, and it seems like Maxi Urruti are willing to continue his Texas tour, because I think he becomes the first ever MLS player to play all free Texas team. I mean, he's played with FC Dallas, and he played with the Houston Dynamo, and now he's going to be joining with Austin FC. And I think this is a good signing for Austin FC, especially with the way that Ruti, in his time with the Dynamo, he's shown that he still got it. Like, he still can score goals, and especially score some ridiculous goals like he did last season for the Dynamo. And while he's not a guy that is going to be just your number 9 that they really or the number 9 that you are heavily reliant on goals, he could be a guy that you could, if you need to, of course, score some key goals, and especially maybe if you can get him into a bit of a hot streak, he can be a guy that can deliver. And yeah, I think overall this is a good signing for Austin FC. Now, there is a report that they are going to loan one of the players that they signed in their inaugural year, and a player that was supposedly highly talented, and a guy that was going to be a future number 10 for them, that is Thomas Pochettino. There is reporting that they're going to be loaning him off to River Plate, and I think there is even talks the fact that that move is complete, that Pochettino is going to be going to River Plate, and I think this is for the best, at least especially for Pochettino's sake, with the way that he just kind of never settled with Austin FC. Like, he had a really rocky season. I mean, there's times that he did kind of show his potential, but he just kind of never got things going. And now of him decided to go back to Argentina, maybe he need himself a refresher. And if he does well with River Plate and comes back with this Austin FC team, maybe he gets some more confident. Because I think there were a couple of reasons why Pochettino just never fits with Austin. The confidence level was definitely not there. And also, it's always hard when you're a player coming from a foreign country and coming into a new league. It takes time to develop. And it seems like Thomas Pochettino had a much tougher time compared to maybe some other foreigners that come into this league. But like I said, him going back to his native country, if he does well, especially with one of the well-known team in Argentina, that is River Plate, and if he can bring that confidence back to this Austin FC team when he is recalled from this loan, there could be a good chance that Austin FC can still salvage a player that they think is the future, and a guy that I think when they signed Thomas Pochettino, a lot of people kind of compare him as like the Diego Valeri type of player, a guy that is going to be not only a guy that is going to be a playmaker in that number 10 position, but he's going to score goals. And again, there's times that Pochettino has shown that, but it just haven't been as much as what we've seen, and especially what Austin FC hope that it will when they sign him from their team last season. Now, Charlotte FC continue to build up their team as they have signed potentially their starting goalkeeper in a Bulgarian goalkeeper called Christian Kalina. I think that's how you pronounce, from Ludogorets. Now, again, I don't know anything about him other than the fact that he is joining a team that is well known in Bulgaria, albeit controversially. And we've seen before where, goalkeeper coming from other country, they could be successful sometimes, and that there could also be guys that never work out in MLS. I mean, basically what I'm trying to say, it's a boom and bust kind of situation. And at least for Charlotte, they hope that he is going to be a boom, and he's going to be a guy that will be a star goalkeeper for their team. But we'll see whether or not if that's going to happen, and whether or not, again, they might have just found their starting goalkeeper for their inaugural year. Now, moving on to talk about something that is not transfer rumors and some signings that has happened. And we'll talk about head coaches. Remember how I usually start the News of the Week episode with talk about head coaches rumor, and how that doesn't seem like it's the case, because it feels like transfer rumors are getting more attention compared to head coaches that is going to be joining with teams that currently do not have a head coach. And one of those teams is the Houston Dynamo, where a couple of episodes ago I heard that they were rumored to sign a oh god, I forgot what was his name, but he was a guy that was coming from Europe and had some background of working with the academy team. Well, now they're looking to try to search within the U.S. and looking at a USL championship head coach, and that head coach is Paulo Nakamura, who the Dynamo is reported to name him as the next head coach of the team. Now, I always said that when Paulo Nakamura retired for SKC, there was always a good chance that he could be a head coach for MLS, and with him going with being the next head coach of SKC2, I'm pretty sure SKC fans were hoping that he could maybe be like that next Peter Vermees, or whenever Peter Vermees decided to kind of move to another team, or decided to move on from their team, then Paulo Nakamura is going to be his successor. Well, unfortunately, that hasn't worked out. Well, I wouldn't say it hasn't worked out, because Paulo Nakamura, I think he just joined as the SKC2 head coach, and he had a rough year with that team. Like, they were considered one of the bottom feeder in the USL Championship. So this is kind of odd, the fact that maybe the Dynamo is trying to take a shot. And I've even heard Dynamo fans are not happy with this signing, not just because of the fact that they consider SKC as one of their rival besides their interstate rival FC Dallas and Austin FC. But it's just the fact that he hasn't really proven to be a decent head coach in the USL level. So how in the world is he going to do when he decided to jump into the MLS level and become a head coach for the very first time? And even some saying that this feels like it's a very cheap move, and that the Dynamo is not thinking outside the box and just kind of decided to take the cheap option. But again, we'll see whether or not this is going to happen, because like I said, I talked about there was a rumor of that other coach that I forgot what was his name, potentially become the next head coach of the Houston Dynamo, and that rumor basically is now dead. So we'll see whether or not if this is going to be the case, and if it is going to be the case, again, it's going to be interesting for Nakamura, a guy that I've always said that I want to see him coach in MLS, but he hasn't really got off to the best start in his coaching career, and we'll see whether or not if he can maybe correct that if he decided to become an MLS head coach and join the Houston Dynamo as their next head coach. And then finally, in the last news out of this News of the Week episode, is Inter Miami finally announcing that they will be wearing pink for their primary kit. And I mean, all I have to say is that this has been so long overdue, with the way that their fans basically screamed the fact that they should have been wearing pink in their inaugural year. I mean, heck, when you see me do reviews and I wear an Inter Miami jersey, I always wear their training jersey. And you can even go on the Inter Miami website and look at their most popular item, and their most popular item isn't actually their jersey. It's actually their training jersey that is all pink. And I just kind of find it hard, the fact that why did they decide not to go with that? Like, that really just represent Inter Miami, and especially their logo's sake. So yeah, I'm glad that they finally decide to listen to their fans and finally do something that they should have done in their inaugural year. Though I will say this to Inter Miami fans: don't have high hopes that this is going to be a good jersey. I mean, they will have high hopes the fact that they finally get a pink jersey, but don't be surprised it's going to be almost something similar to the training jersey that they currently had that is actually pink. Because one thing we know about Adidas and their design of MLS jersey, yeah, it's usually not that good. Like, there are some teams that actually do design good jersey, but majority of them are pretty boring and bland. And again, when that day comes where we look at all the jerseys that has been released by all these MLS teams, which I think I'm going to also do a video grading them and do a rankings in terms of that, don't have high hopes that it's going to be a jersey that is going to be considered the best in the league and blown out of the water. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of all these news. And as always, if there's any news I didn't mention here on the board, let me know in the comments below. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.